Hey everybody! So, since I didn't want to see Rock of Ages, I decided I would go and see the new Adam Sandler movie, That's My Boy. Oh boy. It might not surprise you to know that this movie's a complete piece of shit. It might surprise you to know that the best character in the film is Vanilla Ice. Literally, the actual Vanilla Ice is in this movie. Here's the basic spoiler-free thing right at the beginning in case you actually want to see this thing. It's crude, stupid. It has jokes that rip off other Adam Sandler jokes, although somewhat strangely. Such as the main character's ability to just randomly pull a beer out of wherever. Usually a Budweiser or Rolling Rock. I guess nobody else could actually afford the rights or something. Or nobody else was that stupid. And, yeah, it glorifies a relationship that involves child molestation. I need to get started on this one, and I need to kind of go through the basic plot, because some of this stuff is, and what I'm going to tell you isn't even honestly going to be about half of what's wrong with this film. But I have to get into this because this is disgusting. This is honestly disgustingly bad. But let's get started. The movie starts off with, 1985, 86, 84, when the main character is in high school. He has a crush on this one teacher, who proceeds to then basically seduce / molest him. He seems okay with it, so you can argue consent all you want on this regard, but she committed a crime and it should not be treated as anything but a crime. But guess what? Not only does every male in the story that knows what happened cheer him on, or more specifically, congratulate him for managing to nail the teacher, who is, of course, beautiful. Because, it can't be just, actual love with somebody who you have an emotional connection with. Although that is implied later in the film. But, yeah, apparently every person in the school is cheering him on when this happens. He gets caught in the middle of screwing her. On a piano, no less. She runs off. He stands there, and everyone applauds. And he literally becomes famous throughout most of the rest of the 80s for having done that. That's it. That is just horrifically awful. And I know it's supposed to be comedy or something, because it really feels like an or something kind of moment for me. It wasn't funny, it was just disturbing and horrible and icky. Made me feel the way that South Park episode that does the same basic thing. It made me feel as bad as that. And I don't know if the movie wants you to feel that way. And that's the problem. I'm not sure how the movie wants you to think about this. But of course they've bet child molestation, so someone's gonna have to see that bet and raise it by some other taboo. So place your bets now, because that reveal's coming later. But getting on to the actual plot line, Adam Sandler's character, Donnie, is broke as shit, other than a $20 bet that he made on a really fat guy winning a marathon. Take a guess what the ending includes. And he needs to find his son, who he named Han Solo. Yeah. And the son changed his name to Todd, so he's off trying to make a good life for himself after, being raised by a really shitty parent. And I have to say, the one thing the movie does right is it never portrays Adam Sandler's character as having been a good parent. It tries to edge in a little bit of that. Like a little bit of, I didn't understand, I was just a kid or some shit. No. This guy is fucked up. Andy Samberg's character is really, really fucked up. And a good portion of his actual serious issues can be traced directly back to bad experiences he had as a kid, and the fact that his father was a kid himself, raising him pretty much alone. Brilliant move there, court system. You didn't think maybe putting him in foster care or something would have been a better idea, but whatever. Fuck it, it's not important. What is important is we're introduced to a few other characters at the beginning. We have Andy Samberg, who plays Todd. We have Todd's boss, Steve. We have Todd's fiancée, the bitch, because obviously if somebody likes a nerdy guy and she's good looking and the nerdy guy makes a lot of money, of course there can't be any actual emotion in there. It just has to be for the fucking money. And the Marine, there's an Irish priest, the parents of the fiancé, the help, Chinese waiter, butler, and maid. Really old people. The grandma of the fiancé, who is arguably the funniest character in the film after Vanilla Ice. And of course Vanilla Ice. So there's also like a sleazy TV executive, but he's not important. Or a sleazy TV talk show host, but he's not really important to the plot. Anyway, the plan is he has to get his son together with him to go visit his molester. It's like the person who molested him in prison on this one specific day, so that he can get paid money to pay the IRS back the $43,000 he owes him, because of course he's a complete piece of shit. And honestly, the fact that he owes them that much money is amazing, because I would have thought that somebody would have gotten this asshole killed or arrested before this point, with how completely useless he is. But of course, he goes to this house, passes him off as the main character's best friend, as Todd's best friend. Everyone just eats it up, and he instantly becomes absurdly popular. Real good. That's totally realistic. He just goes into a relatively high-class society, and everyone loves him. You can see every cliche in this damn movie from the fucking... You can see it from the fucking poster. You don't even need a trailer to see where this fuck this shit is going. But, anyway, movie goes through. Eventually, it's like there's stuff where they go on a bachelor party, and that's like the night where he and his son bond is on the bachelor party, which is about the midpoint of maybe the beginning of the second half, or the last third, that general area. So a lot of really stupid shit happens in this movie. 99% of this fucking film is padding. So, yeah, they bond at the bachelor party, which involves going to a strip joint that serves omelets. It's literally called Bacon and Legs, and it's sad when one of the funniest jokes in the film is a pun. But, yeah, that's how it works. So they bond over that situation, and they hang out with Vanilla Ice. The main character learns to ride a bike, which, I'll be honest, I kind of connected with that fact because I didn't learn how to ride a bike till I was about 12. So, I had bad experiences trying to learn how to ride a bike when I was really young. But anyway, eventually the film gets along later, and of course we find out that the girlfriend who is the only other person besides the main character who doesn't like Adam Sandler's character, she's obviously cheating on him. And interestingly, the first person you find out she's cheating on him with actually benefits both her and him in a really weird and strange and disturbing way. So, altruistic cheating, I guess? Weird, but whatever. So she's a bitch because she's cheating on him. Obviously, she lies her way out of it the first time because there's no actual evidence. So, here's where it becomes really, really fun. This freaky pervert guy that is at the omelet and strip joint place basically tells him, hey, you actually want to get good graces with your son, go talk to his wife-to-be. If she likes you, she can convince him to like you, which is moderately logical for a horrifically awful, perverted jackass. So, he goes to the hotel to find her, carrying ice cream cones because, all women love ice cream. Again, that joke was also kind of funny. I'm leaving out a good 100 or so jokes that have nothing to do with the funny ones for each funny one that I make, I think. Or each funny one they made. So, he climbs around outside the windows because he hears her screwing somebody in the hotel room. Okay, so who could it possibly be? Well, earlier in the film, we're introduced to this military marine guy. I think his name's supposed to be Greg. We meet Greg. He's this hard-ass military dude. He likes Donnie for some reason that I can't comprehend. And yeah, he's driving her to the place because it's the night before the wedding. The groom and the bride are not supposed to see each other the night before the wedding. Reasonable, bad luck, the whole whatever. So guess who's in the room banging her? It's this guy, Greg, the Marine. Okay, that's, whatever. She's doing a Marine. He's a good-looking guy. She's a good-looking girl. That's her excuse. Here's where it gets problematic. We're introduced to Greg as her brother. Adam Sandler's character asks, well, at least tell me he's like a stepbrother or adopted or no response, so I'm guessing this is legitimate. Yeah. They saw the child molestation but from woman to boy and raised it with incest. I'm sorry, since when is non-consensual worse than consensual? Did I miss a memo somewhere? Did I miss a memo saying I should care more about the idea that a brother and sister decide to have a committed sexual relationship? 'Cause I honestly don't give a shit. I'm annoyed by the fact that she's cheating on him when it's every goddamn cliche in the book that she's doing it. It would have been so much better if it turned out she was actually being completely nice to him. That she was not being horrible and awful and mean, and that Adam Sandler's character was a total fuck-up. I know it would have been a downer ending, but you know what? It's not like he hasn't done those before with Click. But yeah, that's brought up. It gets mentioned, he goes to the wedding, like he and Vanilla Ice have this montage where they're running to the wedding, and they interrupt, they don't directly reveal what happened, but they get her to tell him under the thing. It's like, either you tell him or I tell everybody here. So she tells him, and he stands there for a minute, it's like, huh. What? It's like, alright, she told him. And he then reveals it to everybody. Of course. And here's the fun part. Here's the really fun part of the film. In drawing that parallel that I mentioned earlier between the woman molesting young boy and incest thing, they drew another parallel. The woman was the aggressor in both situations. You see, the military guy, who isn't actually in the military, by the way, so yeah, that's some horrifically awful situation there. That's honestly more offensive than the whole incest concept, but moving on. He is actually played as the victim. He's the younger brother. And it's clearly a situation where he's been victimized into it. It's not a situation where it's like, oh, they got together, it's consensual, whatever. No. She pretty much groomed him into it. So again, it's also implied this lasts a while, so it's a case of child molestation versus likely incestuous child molestation. Classy. Really fucking classy. And it's played for comedy. It's straight up played for comedy. These two horrifying situations are played up entirely as comedy. What part of any of that is supposed to be funny? Seriously. Just ignore the things I said about Vanilla Ice being moderately funny. The grandma of the family is moderately funny. The house staff, the two Chinese people, they're pretty funny. I mean, hell, even the priest is pretty funny. Stop and think about the fact that this movie just made very blatant and ham-fisted jokes about the idea that a woman coercing/forcing a man into sex is funny. Especially if that woman is his teacher. And he's 13. And before you ask, no, neither of these things has ever happened to me. I just think it's disturbing, disgusting, and stupid to make it a joke. Great comedian George Carlin once stated that you can make anything funny. Even explaining that the way to make rape funny is to imagine Porky Pig raping Elmer Fudd, I believe. Those two characters. Doesn't matter who's doing the raping. Yeah. You know, love George, wherever the fuck his soul might be, whether it exists or not, his body's in the ground, whatever. That's not funny. That's awful. That's just disgusting. Rape is not comedy. I'm not saying that you can't find something moderately funny within the concept. I'm just saying that if George Carlin, a fantastic comedian, could bring up that concept and, you know, get a decent number of people to laugh, he was one of the best that ever lived in regards to comedy. What fucking chance does Adam Sandler, who was out of his prime by the end of the damn 90s, have at making molestation funny? Molestation is... I can't really go on with this. I gotta stop because this is just so disturbing to me. I don't get it. This will probably be the worst film I see all year. And it probably will be the worst film I see all year, not because of the quality of the film itself, but because the message that it portrays of what it finds funny is truly horrifying. So, you know, it's... Last year, the worst film I saw was I Don't Know How She Does It. And when it's competing with Twilight, that means something. It's like when you're competing with a fucking Twilight movie, it means something when you could be called the worst film of the year. A Twilight movie and a Transformers sequel. And it beat both of them. And the Thing remake. Because it threw in, for no reason, this idea of abortion just to shoot down the whole idea that it could ever be justified. Or that it was even justified in this situation. Because the main character said so, it's okay. When a film has this specific kind of message that it puts in there, when it has these kinds of jokes it tells, it's not funny anymore. It's just disgustingly awful. And I really wish they would stop doing this. I am actually angry at myself for paying money to see this film. And I highly recommend that none of you do this. Thankfully, next week we have 2 possible choices to wash the horrible taste of this drac from my mouth. In the form of either Brave or Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Decisions. I'm gonna go to sleep now and hope my dreams don't horrify me worse than this film.